テレビシリーズ161話がレーザーディスク41枚のセットになってついに発売だ。いやバカな。嘘。本当に全部。とにかく茜は絶対誰にも渡せねえ。
Hello. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Prism. You can call me Pastel Prism, Leah, whatever it is that you want to call me. And this is my first official YouTube video deep dive, I guess you could say. And I decided to do the deep dive on the show Ranma 1/2. The reason why I decided to do this for the show Ranma 1/2 is, one, it's one of those shows that has been very dear to my heart for a really long time. You know, it's something that I picked up when I was very young. I've always really loved it, and now that it's back in circulation, I just feel like it is my duty, my solemn duty, to talk about this show. Since nobody really has talked about it, I am going to go ahead and plunge and be the first one to talk about it. Before I do get into the show, I'm just gonna do a little introduction of myself. Like I said before, my name is Prism, or Pastel Prism, however you want to say it. And I'm a Cuban American. I came when I was very young. Anime was one of those big outlets for myself and inspiration for a lot of the things that I ended up doing later on in my life, like become an artist, make my own webcomics, stuff like that. And really, Ranma 1/2 is where it all started. Ranma 1/2 was one of, if not the first mangas that I ever read in my whole entire life. And it's very funny because it was that one and Fruits Baskets. Very interesting, introduction. A lot of people usually get their introduction from like Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z or even Pokemon. But unfortunately, even though I did surround myself with those types of things when I was younger, it never really clicked for me, especially with Pokemon. Because I didn't play the games, I was never so interested in the show and everything. It just never piqued my interest. But yet
No, I can't laugh yet.
the drama of Fruit Baskets and the nudity of Ranma did. I don't know. I was 13. What can I say? So today I'm going to do a deep dive about Ranma 1/2, the old show and the new show. I'm going to talk about the different series, the OVAs, also that gosh darn live action that no one talks about because it's so bad. It's so bad. We're going to talk about everything Ranma, and hopefully I can get through as many characters as possible, because as we all know, there is a lot of characters. And I'm gesturing right here, right now, because I will eventually put a picture of the many characters that there is in Ranma 1/2. Anyways, and let's start. The first thing I want to start with is a little bit of history of Ranma 1/2. Ranma 1/2 was created by Rumiko Takahashi, is one of the most legendary manga artists of all time. She's often called the queen of manga, and that's for a good reason. She is the creator of things like Inuyasha, Ranma, and things like Katana Yutsura, which is one of her biggest, publications of all time. So today it's like pretty big. The series was first hit the pages of Weekly Shonen Jump Sunday back in 1987 and ran all the way up to 1996. It became a global hit, spawning multiple anime series, OVAs, movies, and even a live-action adaptation. The thing is with Ranma 1/2 is that it had so many different types of adaptations that you would think to yourself, oh, why are they making a remake? Many of the adaptations were not great. I'm again talking about the live action and the very unsatisfying OVAs that merely scratch the surface of what the ending was supposed to be. So let's summarize the plot. The story follows a 16-year-old martial artist named Rama Satome, who, after falling into a cursed spring, transforms into a girl when splashed with cold water and reverts back into a boy with hot water. Very simple. His engagement to Akane Tendo leads to comedic and action packed adventures. Poor Akane. If you know, you know. So let's talk a little bit about Rumiko Takahashi before we really dive into Ranma One Half. Rumiko Takahashi is one of Japan's most celebrated manga artists. She was born in October 10th, 1957 in Niigata, Japan. I don't want to say that incorrectly. Her other notable works include, like I said, Yurusei Yutsura, Mansion Ikoku, and Inuyasha. She has won many numerous accolades, including the Shogun Kagan, including the Shogun Kagan Manga Award twice. Once for Yurusei Yutsura in 1981 and again for Inuyasha in 2002. I first discovered Ranma One Half when I was about 15 years old, back in high school. Believe it or not, it was tucked away in my school library. The moment I stumbled across the series, I was instantly intrigued. The story seemed so unique, and the art style really caught my eye. It had this quirky charm that stood out from anything that I had ever seen before. At first, I was drawn in by the unusual premise and all the, well, some interesting visuals, like some stuff. But once I started reading, I quickly realized it wasn't just a gimmick, it was hilarious. The stories, humor, the characters, the chaotic situations, Rama and Akane's romance, and everything just felt like, I guess, a breath of fresh air. Because up until that point, I had only encountered Western media, so I had never, had something like that in my life. But here's the catch. My school library didn't have the entire series, just a few random volumes. So, like a true anime fan back in the day, I turned to YouTube to fill in the gaps. And oh man, if you were watching anime on YouTube back in the early 2000s, you know the struggle. Every episode was split into 3 parts, and sometimes the person uploading would just stop midway through the series, and you would never find out the ending. And that's just how it was. I remember refreshing channels and searching endlessly for the next part, only to find out it hadn't been uploaded, or worse, it got deleted. Classic YouTube struggles, right? Many times, many of the creators that I would follow strictly for these updates would just randomly out of the face of the earth drop. And this was all before copyright infringements and YouTube became a place where you could make money, and people would just upload things because they would want to and because they love to. But despite all that, I was determined. That's how much I love Ranma One Half. It wasn't just entertaining, it was like stepping into a world where anything could happen. I think that's what really made me like attached to it so hard, and especially as a teenager. I was eventually able to watch the original series, including the infamous OVA. We should talk about that later. That was supposed to provide an ending to the anime. However, instead of fully adapting the manga's conclusion, it only covered a beach arc that touched on a few aspects of the original ending. While it was fun, it left a lot of fans, including myself, wanting more closure. All right, so I'm gonna do a small tangent here, and if anything, I might just push it to the back of the video, but I'm still gonna do it anyways. Talking about the OVA. So the thing with the OVA is, not only was the animation changed and improved a lot, they were definitely paying these animators a lot of money, because if you watch the animation of the original anime and compare it to the animation of the OVA, it's like night and day. They definitely were putting their heart and soul and fan service into this OVA adaptation. For some reason, they chose a story arc that doesn't complete the show at all. And you think to yourself, especially those of you at home, Prism, but in the show, it obviously doesn't end, like with a proper ending. The same thing in the manga. They don't tell you, boom, boom, this is what's going to happen, or hey, Akane and Rama are getting married, or ta 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 ta. They don't really close the ending, they kind of leave it open ended, but they at least do resolve a lot of like loose end things that they had set up. And I feel like that's what the OVA is missing. The OVA is missing basically wrapping up certain like love arcs and certain story arcs that were just left unanswered. Just kind of like, hey, watch this 1 hour and a half, beautifully animated, by the way, story of basically a regular Ranma 1/2 episode, and still have no conclusion whatsoever. And this is the last thing you get. And I really do hope for the new adaptation that they don't do something like that, that they move forward and they try to do something closer to what the manga does. It's not that the manga does give you the ultimate ending, but it does wrap things up in a way where it's like, and things will continue to be this way forever. This is Ranma 1/2, like it's very satisfying in a way, even though it doesn't tell you straight up, oh, they're together now, or they got married and they had kids and things like that. No, it just leaves it as like, and just another day in the silly life of Ranma 1/2. And I like that. In the OVA, they tried to do that, but because they were dealing with so many like big moments to showcase the animation, they kind of forgot that Ranma 1/2 is not supposed to be this magnum opus. It's supposed to be this silly little anime that it's about laughs. It's not really about it being the greatest action-packed anime, if you get my drift. All right, so let's talk about the Ranma 1/2 anime conclusion. The original Ranma 1/2 anime ran from 1989 to 1992. Didn't fully adapt the manga story. The anime ran from 161 episodes across 7 seasons, plus 12 OVAs and 3 movies, but it ended without a proper conclusion to the main plot lines, including Ranma and Akane's relationship and the resolution of Ranma's curse. Literally everything I just talked about before. The Ranma 1/2 manga by Rumiko Takahashi continued for a while after the anime ended. So my guess is the anime caught up to the manga and they just had to end it, and Rumiko Takahashi ended up finishing the manga just a little bit later on. It concluded in 1996, the year I was born, with 38 volumes. It provided a somewhat more definite ending, though it was still kind of open-ended. For the full story, reading the manga is the way to go. It is a complete experience, and you actually get to see the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Now, the anime ending versus the manga ending. Now, we've talked a lot about how Ranma 1/2 made such an impact with its quirky humor and memorable characters, but there's one piece of the puzzle we need to touch on: the anime's conclusion, or rather, the lack of one. The anime's final OVA, which was supposed to wrap up the series, became infamous for covering just a minor beach arc instead of providing real closure. While it was fun, it didn't answer a lot of the burning questions we were all asking. Like, what happens to Ranma and Akane? Was the curse ever lifted or fully broken? And let's not forget the unsolved romantic tension between the two of them. The anime ended on a kind of unresolved note, leaving a lot of fans frustrated, like myself. So how does the anime's ending compare to what the manga's actual conclusion? Well, after the anime ended, the manga continued all the way until 1996. While the manga's conclusion is still a bit open-ended, it gave the fans the closure they were looking for. But for anyone who only watched the anime, it definitely left too much unresolved. The anime touched on a lot of stuff, but some of the major things that were set up in the beginning, it never even got to. Even though the anime didn't give us the ending we wanted, Ranma 1/2 didn't disappear. It remained relevant and beloved for decades, even after the manga concluded. From reruns to merchandise to fan communities that kept the love alive, the series continued to influence new generations of fans. And let's not forget, it also helped shape the way that we see gender-bending tropes in later animes and manga. Rumiko Takahashi herself also moved on to create Inuyasha, a series that became just as iconic in its own right, along with MAO, which is still ongoing. It's clear that Ranma 1/2's legacy had a lasting impact on both fans and creators alike. So, now let's talk about the 2011 live-action Ranma 1/2 special.
結婚おめでとう。
早乙女ランマだ。
俺は女って言われんのが一番ムカつくんだ。あいつは頭から水をかぶると女の子になり、お湯をかぶれば元に戻るというふざけた体質に。
そう、伝説の泉はどこにあるんでしょうか。その泉見つかれば 永久に男の体に戻れるんですよね。
ラーマ2分の1、12月9日金曜夜7時。道場を私が守る
In
んだから。
2011, we got a live action special, which, let's just say, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Some fans were excited to see a new take on the series, while others felt it was a bit of a misstep. It was definitely a unique experience, but did it capture the original magic of the anime and the manga? For me, the 2011 live action adaptation of Ranma 1/2 was an interesting experiment, but I'm not sure it fully worked. The live action format just didn't capture the charm and energy of the original animated series. The acting in particular felt kind of weird, something you often see with the anime adaptations in Japan, where the performances can sometimes come off as awkward. The effects were another issue. The transformation scenes, which were so iconic in the anime, just looked way too silly and fake in the live action version, especially when compared to the dynamic energy of the animated ones. And don't even get me started on Ranma's infamous red shirt. It looked so bad. Honestly, it just didn't do justice to the material. Touch a little bit upon the visual style and art. But even with its flaws, one thing that can never be taken away from Ranma 1/2 is its amazing art style. Takahashi's clean lines, expressive characters, and playful energy have always been a huge part of what makes the series so memorable. I absolutely adore the art style. Whether it's the way that the characters are drawn in action scenes or the hilarious transformation moments that had me laughing every time. The manga's visual storytelling really brings the comedy to life, and the anime did a great job of capturing that, even though it had to cut some corners here and there. All right, so now we get to the part that everybody's probably been gushing, waiting, and dying for. Let's talk about the main characters. Now, the first main character of Ranma 1/2 is, of course, Ranma, the martial artist who can't seem to catch a break when it comes to gender swapping. There's Akane, his feisty fiance, who is one of the best written female protagonists in anime. She really is. I really do look up to her and love her. And let's not forget all about the colorful supporting characters like Shampoo, Ukiyo, and Ryoga, who make the love triangle. Gemma Satome, which is Ranma's dad. Then there's Kuno, Kodachi, which is Kuno's sister. There's Nabiki, there is Katsumi, Shampoo, like I said before, Dr. Tofu, Son Tendo, so the dad, Akane's dad. What am I saying? Then there is Shampoo's grandmother, Cologne. I always laugh at her name. And that's just a couple of characters that Ranma 1/2 has. There's many, many more. Let's talk about some of the very infamous, well-known things about Ranma 1/2, which has to be definitely the love triangles. All right, so let me get comfortable for this. Okay, all right. Okay, so for the love triangles in Ranma 1/2, we have many. I'm going to pull up a chart. Let me look up a chart. So I have a chart pulled up that I'm going to use to kind of keep track on who likes who and who's into who and what's happening. Okay. So from what I'm seeing in the chart so far, not so far, throughout the entire series, Ranma and Akane have a back and forth thing where they kind of like each other, but they're being kind of thick-headed and they don't want to be together, but they do want to be together. So it's a thing. And it will eventually kind of resolve itself, but not really. Along with Akane, Ranma also has another 3. And mind you, already, no, not even 3, 4. 4 is a lot. Ranma has another 4 love interests. One of them is Shampoo, the other one is Ukiyo, Kodachi, and lastly Kuno, because Kuno is technically a love interest for Ranma, even though he is only into girl Ranma. That still doesn't mean that he's not into Ranma. All right, so moving further out of the web, away from Ranma and Akane, some of the people that like them, for example, for Akane, I would say Akane has 4 love interests, just like Ranma does. And they both share Kuno, which is funny, my bisexual king. I mean, not technically, because he only likes Ranma in female form. Let's just call him a pansexual and leave it at that. Moving forward, we also have Shinosuke, which gets introduced later. We have Ryoga and we have Gosunki. These are some of the people that like really get into Akane, and unfortunately, she doesn't like any of them. She only likes Ranma, so she most of the time rejects all of them. Some other contenders that do show up to kind of make everything even more complicated. For example, Shampoo does have someone who likes her. His name is Moose. He comes all the way from China to be into her, and it just creates further problems, because he thinks that he needs to fight Ranma, and Ranma doesn't really care because Ranma just wants to do martial arts. Poor baby. For Ukiyo, we have two love interests that love Ukiyo. When Ukiyo gets introduced, Ukiyo dresses more male presenting, or I guess you could say mask, but Ukiyo is ultimately a girl that likes Ranma. It was never specified specifically like Ukiyo is heterosexual cisgender. It was never like specified. So in my in my mental image, I feel like Ukiyo is just non-binary folk who enjoys martial arts and likes Ranma. That's how I feel. And the main reason why I feel like Ukiyo could come off as like a non-binary person is mostly due to the way that they dress, express themselves, and the way that they carry themselves, and also some of the way that their love interest refer to them and talk about their traits. Because, for example, Tsubasa is a girl that is really into Ukiyo, and one of the reasons that Tsubasa is really into Ukiyo is because she likes how powerful Ukiyo is, and she likes that Ukiyo can save her, and she likes to act dainty around Ukiyo, even though she doesn't need to because she's very strong. And another one is Konatsu.
She feminine up and coming from the Clintons to the Obamas. I keep it tight, now they call me.
I believe that was a guy, but I don't remember. It was so many people, so we'll just tag it as Ukiyo has the best of both worlds, okay? And if I am forgetting anybody, I guess would be my dear boy Ryoga. Ryoga does have one love interest aside from Akane, and that would be Akari. She comes in way, 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 way later on in the series. And in the manga, they do end up together. They're not married, but you can tell from their actions and stuff that they are together in a relationship. So that makes me really happy. And the last one I guess I could touch on would be that Kuno had a love interest. Her name was Mariko. She likes him. He doesn't care. He wants to date Akane and the pigtail girl. There's nothing else I could say about that. All I could say is it exists. But anyways, moving forward, let's talk about some of the characters. The first character I want to touch on would be Ranma. Ranma is one of those characters that you can get attached to very easily. He's almost like an empty canvas in a way. Like, yes, he does have a lot of personality and personality traits. Like, he's very egotistic. He is very hard-headed. He believes that he can do everything himself without any help from anybody. And yeah, he's a teenager. What else can I say? And aside from that, I do have to say that beside all the slapsticks, I sometimes do feel a little bad for him. He does get the tougher end of the stick a lot of the times, and I do get why. It is in true anime fashion, for Akane to be mad at him and for things to happen. But I would love it if, these misunderstandings would happen a little bit less. My poor boy. But yeah, I do enjoy Akane's and Rama's relationship. It does feel very genuine, and it does feel very fresh to see how like actual teenagers do act like that. They hate each other even though they don't really hate each other. One of my favorite characters definitely has to be Ryoga, because I keep talking about him. The reason why I like Ryoga so much, I guess you could say, it's because he reminds me a lot of myself. Very thick-headed, very bad with directions, very strong, but just weak in the wrong places. Because the problem with Ryoga, that sometimes that's why he loses to Ranma so often, is that he's not willing to evolve. He's not willing to change. He's not willing to try different things, even though whenever he does try, he masters them very easily and perfectly. But Rama overall is just more talented when it comes to martial arts, so that allows him to become stronger, easier, I guess you could say. I guess Ryoga just kind of like faces himself a lot. But moving on from those two, I can talk a little bit about Shampoo. I personally am not the biggest Shampoo fan. I like her design. She's really cute. But I never connected to her. I guess the main reason why I never connected to her is because she is from China and her Japanese supposedly is very limited. She doesn't say much. She kind of just gets in the way of the main couple, which is her main goal. And I do get it, but I guess when I was younger, it kind of annoyed me because I felt like if she wasn't here, these two could be together. And it's like if she wasn't here, there would be no show. But overall, she's not a bad character. She is a very good, I guess you could say, love rival or love antagonist. Not really an antagonist because she doesn't, nah, never mind. The moment that I thought about it, I was like, nah, she does shit out of malicious and for her own will and her own goals. Besides that, I guess we could touch on a little bit of Moose. Moose, what can I say about Moose? Nothing really. He turns into a goose. Moose the goose. He turns into a goose whenever he's splashed with cold water. By the way, because I totally forgot to say, Rama gets turned into a girl when he gets splashed with cold water. Akane doesn't get turned into anything because she never fell in the Yosinki ponds or whatever. Ryoga gets turned into a piglet. Shampoo gets turned into a cat. And Ukiyo doesn't get turned into anything because she also did not fall in that water because she was like smart, you know, smart person. And I guess the last two people that I haven't really touched on would be like some of the people that live in the Tendo household, like Nabiki and frick, I always forget her name, and she's so nice. I am such a bad fan. My goodness. Like, she's so nice. Oh my god, Kasumi. All right. But yeah, like the people that live in the Tendo household, like Kasumi, the dad, Gemma, which is Rama's dad. And yes, now I left one of the most problematic characters for the end, mostly because I kind of didn't want to deal with him, but also because even the anime doesn't want to deal with him. And yes, he is one of the main reasons for comedic moments in, I believe, season 2 of Ranma One Half, and that would be Haposai. Haposai is the legendary perverted master of Tendo and Gemma, who turned their lives into misery. Haposai is one of the most deadliest and the most perverted character in Ranma One Half universe. And I mean that full-heartedly. He is honestly one of the reasons why I understand why many people don't touch the series and want it to be far away as possible. Haposai engages in some of the most uncomfortable behavior you could come across. The good thing is he's not a main character, he's just a side character, but his presence is needed for some of the major plot points of some episodes, like anything regarding martial arts or anything regarding some magical object from the past. Unfortunately, he is a presence. Some of the uncomfortable things that you get to see him do on screen would be on people, mostly women, mostly underage girls. So a big, problem because woo woo, where's the sound of the police? Is that one, guys. Anyways, he also does panty raids and steals panties and has a collection of panties. There's one episode where they're trying to find out why people's panties are going missing, and I thought that that was kind of tacky of the show to do. But at the end of the day, different time, different things that we found funny at that time. Now, I wanted to touch on a little bit before we do the conclusion. I wanted to talk about a little bit of Ranma 1/2 and gender identity. So, in the show, there are many instances where Ranma will turn into a girl just to be able to indulge in girly things.
彼女、僕のヨットでお茶飲まない？
お茶？飲む飲む。ヨットに乗せてくれる？なんだ？あんた男でしょ？シャキッとしなさい、シャキッと。ジャウダンジャウダン。
男？
ピンポーン。ったく。冗談冗談。
For example, in the anime, there is this one scene where he looks at Akane and he says, I have to do something that I thought I'd never have to do. And here she is thinking, oh my God, like something's obviously happening, something serious. And it turns out, no, it's nothing. He just wanted to turn into a girl so that he could eat some ice cream. I think it was a parfait. And it's in the same episode where shampoo gets introduced, so a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And that's just one of the small tidbits of gender identity that gets sprinkled around the whole Ranma 1/2. Another thing that I love about the show is that it wanted to play very much with what is expected from genders. Many times you will see Ranma as a woman saving Akane, or as a man being saved by Akane. And I feel like these are instances that the creator was saying it doesn't really matter if you're a girl or a boy. If you need someone to save you, you need somebody to save you. I also feel like many of the instances in the show where they push the gender boundaries, it's very refreshing, especially for something that was made in the early 90s, late 80s. All right, so the manga started in the late 80s, in 1987, and finished its full course in 1996. So this just goes to show you that the 80s were definitely a different time. And for Rumiko to be making this type of story and talking about these topics about how gender doesn't define who you are. You can be a boy and you can still like parfaits. You can be a girl and like martial arts. You can be a boy and be not as strong, and you can be a girl and be strong. It was very refreshing at the time, especially the more and more that she kept playing with it as the story progressed. As you read the manga, you realize that Ranma is actually very, I guess you could say, very in tune with his feminine side. And that makes a lot of sense because Ranma can turn into a girl. So he experiences firsthand what it is to be a girl. Not all the time, but he does experience misogyny. He does experience being catcalled. He does experience being groped. And that is a topic I will touch. Not just yet, but just in a minute. But he does experience a lot of the things that males don't experience a lot of the times. Like, for example, when he's in his male body, he gets respect / gets ignored by certain people. But when he is in his female body, these people pay way too much attention to him, where to the point where it makes him uncomfortable. Also, his first kiss was with a guy that he didn't even know just because he was a girl. and she didn't want it. And that just goes to show it's like another point of like unsolicited male touch. And honestly, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but I will say I feel like it was very smart of Rumiko Takahashi to decide to create the story. Ever since that story came out, and we've experienced many things like this, we've had the opportunity to have things like Orin High School Host Club, Yuri on Ice, and many other different stories that deal with gender bend, that deal with just pushing expectations, which I do appreciate a lot. So now let's get to that one point that I wanted to talk about earlier. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about before we conclude the video. Ranma 1/2 manga, anime, and OVAs that differ from the new remake. The main aspect that differs is the fan service. Alright, so let's dive in. The fan service of Ranma 1/2 sometimes can be overbearing, especially if you're watching the old series or you're reading the manga. Unfortunately, at the time, those types of fan service tactics were used for humor. Now that time has passed, some of those tactics are not as humorous anymore. Like, for example, panty rating, or pretty much harassing somebody and touching someone without their consent and things like that. And one good example that I can think of is the very infamous scene where Shampoo wakes up with Ranma in his bed. And in the manga and in the anime, the original, Shampoo, unfortunately, we thought better of you, girl. But yeah, Shampoo unfortunately gropes Ranma without permission. She gropes Ranma without permission, and squeezes her boob, because when she went to bed, Ranma was a boy, and now that she woke up, Ranma's a girl. So I guess it was funny that she squeezed her boob. I don't know. In the new adaptation, she doesn't really touch Ranma, which I appreciate a lot. She just kind of like looks down at her and sees that she has boobs, and it gets the same point across. So I am very excited to see all these not so well aged comedy tropes be readjusted for the new times and the new audience. All right, let's finally get into the conclusion. As I wrap this up, I just wanted to say that Ranma holds such a special place in my heart. It's a perfect example of how an anime can mix humor, action, and heartfelt moments into something that leaves a lasting impact. Whether you love the series for its bizarre premise, its quirky characters, or its love story, there's no denying that Ranma 1/2 is a cornerstone of anime history. Now, I just wanted to say thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on the series and why it's so important to me. Let me know what you think about Ranma 1/2, and did you watch it growing up? Are you just discovering it now? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. Until next time, bye!